Go. We are live.
Go. Hey, what's going on, everybody? David Noe with Speakeasy HR, presented by Payroll Partners. It is October 20th. It is episode 49, and we have some network issues going on in the world. If you are having problems with some of your apps or platforms, so are we. And we're just going to roll with it. So you didn't get to see my 1-minute intro of Speakeasy HR, but welcome. We are live on LinkedIn and YouTube. I think. I don't know yet. So if you are watching live, um, if you are watching live, we would love to hear from you. We had over 100 people sign up to be a part of this amazing episode with my guest, who I am so thrilled to have on. She and I have connected for the last maybe year or so. And so we got her on the schedule for Speakeasy HR, and she is here. So, Casey Webster, welcome to Speakeasy HR.
Thank you so much for having me. It's crazy. When we first scheduled this months and months ago, I thought, oh my gosh, that's like in a year, but time flies.
I
Time
know.
flies. I can't believe it's almost holiday season and
I know. And the weather's changing. We're in the Midwest, right? You're in Ohio. I'm in
yep.
Kentucky. So the weather's changing. We got some rain. It's starting to feel like fall, my favorite time of the year. It would just be better if our platforms were all working today. So AWS, people that might not have ever heard of AWS, they probably heard of AWS today. So it's
True that.
it's definitely making some disruption out there in the world today. So anyway, if you are new to Speakeasy HR and have never watched this episode or podcast before, welcome. We love to have uncut, unfiltered, authentic conversations live on LinkedIn and YouTube. So again, if you are watching live, we're going to dive into this topic that Casey brought to Speakeasy HR today and get obviously some feedback from everybody watching. So if you have any questions along the way, chime in. We'll bring them up and we'll dive into them. So, Casey, if you want to just start and tell us about your background and what you were pursuing as a young professional getting into the workforce, may not be what you're doing now. So, go back as far as you want and let's hear a little bit about your background.
Absolutely. And I just heard from my marketing team that we are live, that it is
Woo!
working.
All right.
So, yes.
Got the I got the mini so this will be the only prop I have today. So
There we go. Well, let's go like way, way back. So
yeah.
growing up, uh, my mom, global vice president of HR. So when you grow up in Ohio, a lot of times you follow in your parents' footsteps. So
Yeah.
mom was in HR, aunt was in HR. My dad was a union worker for Goodyear tires. So you could imagine the conversations at night between the global VP of HR and the
Oh,
union worker at Goodyear. And that's really what helped me learn how to be in that middle ground of uh, corporate business, what the business needs, and what the employees need. So that really helped me. Just that upbringing of just that sound foundation that you need to be an HR professional. And then I went to spend 20 years in the HR field. Always worked for mid-size family-owned companies that were several generations into their family leadership. And then you just have that calling, like, I feel like I could do more or there's something. And, working for family owned companies, you see what they're doing in the community. You're building somebody else's legacy, right? And, I got to that point where I was like, I want to build my own legacy but didn't quite know what I was going to do. At first I thought I'm going to be an HR influencer and I'm just going to post stuff and I'm going to make money cuz all these young people that are doing it, they say it's so easy. And yeah, it's not easy, David.
no.
That's
If
it's
it was
not.
easy, everybody would be doing it if it was that
Right,
easy.
right. So I was like, okay, that's not going to work. And then I had as I was working, and we had all of these open positions working in manufacturing. We're bringing people pretty much right out of high school onto production floors. They show some potential. 6 months later, you're promoting them into team leaders, and they needed foundational training. They needed compliance training. And that is not something I ever wanted to do. Like just being blunt, honest. It's not fun, it's not exciting for me. And if I'm going to be bored training it, like you don't want to listen to me train, right? Like that's going to be even more miserable for you. And so that's when I invented the employment law escape room. My team leaders loved it. I got talking with the CEO of the company I was working with, and I was like, I think this whole gamification and thinking about HR through more of a sales and marketing lens is really something unique and different, and that the world needs. And I went to Disney after that conversation with my boss, and we're standing in front of Cinderella's castle and Rapunzel singing I've Got a Dream and the fireworks are going off. And I went into work that next Tuesday and resigned. And here I am.
Wow. So what's been the last couple of years been like with your journey, and what's maybe the biggest thing you've learned for the last couple of years you've been doing this?
Yeah. So really there's two sides of my business of what, I've worked on creating. The first side is the HR consulting, fractional HR, with the brand new launch of 10X Talent Community this past week, which I'm super excited about. And it's really looking at HR as like um, through the lens of sales and marketing. So
Yep.
I believe truly in my heart, and people throughout my career were always like, why aren't you in sales? You should be in sales. Like, why are you in HR? And I'd be like, I am in sales. I'm in HR. Like I have to sell and market to people every single day. And I'm
Yep.
not talking about just in recruiting. We're talking about in the business to retain.
Yep.
How do I constantly talk about our benefits and communicate so they understand the value of that? So when they hear this beautiful shiny offer out here, they really understand like what am I comparing it against? And oh, I've got it pretty good here. Or, our managers are really our product.
Yeah.
We always say people leave managers, not companies. And so, how do I groom my managers, develop my managers so we don't lose customers,
Yeah.
our employees? And so, it's really reframing HR through the people and culture sales system. And what I want to help HR professionals do is learn how to be business leaders. They're business leaders first who run the function of HR. And I know that's what we're going to be talking about a lot today. So it's been fun developing that whole sales and culture and people sales system,
Yeah.
along with the talent HR community, where we can teach people how to become business leaders running the HR function. And then, of course, we could talk all day about the gamification of how you take really boring topics or even any topic, just anything that's important. We really need to sink in and turn it into an actual physical game, like the recruiting bank heist. Instead of teaching them how to write interview questions for the jobs that they recruit for all the time. Let's have them recruit a team to go rob a bank. So we
Yeah.
do like a bank heist game. So we can have a whole nother podcast someday on the gamification side for sure. But I know we're here to talk about strategic HR today.
Absolutely. Yeah, you've been creating some very interactive, fun approaches to boring topics in HR, and I love it. I wish this was around a long time ago, but here we are, and you are here to help everybody learn along the way. So I do have a fun transition slide, which isn't going to work probably. Um, so we're just going to wing it because we're going to play the envelope icebreaker game to hear what we can grab out of these questions and learn a little bit more about you, Casey, as a person. So
Okay.
1 through 15, these are brand new questions for season 2 of Speakeasy HR. So what number are you picking, 1 through 15?
14.
14. Okay. Have you watched other episodes? Because I feel like 14 gets picked. It's okay though. It's a great question. Um, okay. What's one thing you can't live without on a work day?
AI.
It's
When
good.
AI is down, I get to the point where I'm like, I can't even write an email. Like, I don't even know where to start. And
Well, I mean, if you use Canva, I think Canva's having issues today. This platform's having issues today. So, yeah, AI is very important. And as you said, HR can be very strategic. So, things like AI can eliminate the redundant, boring pieces of a job and help people in HR be more strategic
Mhm.
and make an impact. So, all right, what's another question? 1 through 15 outside of 14. What do you got?
We're gonna do two.
2. I don't think anyone's picked 2 yet. Good job. All right. Let's see. What would your personal tagline be?
Oh
Think something
gosh.
you put on a t-shirt or in a bio that sums you up.
Hmm.
What's your $1 million t-shirt idea?
You know how many times in videos too I've been like, that should be a t-shirt.
I know.
And this is hard because there's really two. Like, so the one I use on the training side a lot of time is training that doesn't suck, just to be
Yep.
completely blunt. Yeah. The strategic HR side, um, I'm trying to like put it into a phrase, but my frustration on that side is like every single business book out there says people are first. People, 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 people strategy, people like yet HR is the last to get funded and training is the first thing that gets cut when we have a slow
Yeah.
time. And so it's that turning us into like what we actually preach.
Mhm.
Like if people are first, you can't outsource HR. Like, I was at a conference the other week and somebody was like, "Yeah, our HR is done overseas." And I'm like, "What?" Like, especially in the United States, our employment laws are so complex.
Oh, yeah.
We have a hard time keeping up with it. So to try to translate that to somebody overseas is even more challenging. So I might
Yeah.
have to like get back to you and write it in the comment of something clever, but it's kind of like walk the talk. Do you really value people?
Right.
Your actions tell me if you do or not.
Well, we'll see each other at an upcoming event, the HR Trifecta, November 12th in Northern Kentucky. For those of you around Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky, maybe by then you can have the shirt and you can have it at the event.
There we go. All right, I'll make you a matching one.
There you go. Perfect. Yeah, I will be there, probably introducing you. So, again, if you're looking for an awesome local HR event and you're in the Northern Kentucky, Cincinnati area, HR Trifecta is being put on through the Northern Kentucky SHRM and Northern Kentucky Chamber of Commerce, that I'm the HR 100 chair committee. So, awesome event. 3 speakers. Casey's one of them. And we had an amazing group of submissions. And she was definitely one of the more popular event topics that we had. So check that out, scan it. We can put the link in the comments for the event, but you still have time to sign up and would love to see you all there. So, all right. Well, as I do with every guest, Casey, I really want someone to come on and share their background, their insights, their knowledge with people listening. And it really helps us develop the topic and what is really your passion right now in your work. And so I loved when you brought this topic to the podcast. The top shelf topic today is aligning business goals with HR strategies for 2026. And no matter if you have this topic or somebody else, everybody's going to have a different opinion, different insights, what they're going to feel valuable in this topic. So let's start here. When you look ahead to 2026, we're not very far away. What
Yep.
do you see the biggest opportunity for HR to truly align with business goals, not to just support them?
Yeah. So, and I know Daniel put a comment in here. Do you really value people for the T-shirt tagline? So, Daniel, I love it. Well,
Yeah. Thank you, Daniel.
yes. So, biggest opportunity for 2026. First of all, AI, AI, AI. Uh, how do we use AI to get us out of this administrative trap that we've been in for a long time? AI is not going to replace us. It is going to allow us to be strategic
Yep.
because it's going to take on some of those tasks that take us hours to do and simple things, writing a job description. We can output it within a couple seconds. We can say, tweak it, and we're done versus spending, I don't know, what do you think, 30 minutes, 45 minutes to write one from scratch and update it. Um, so figuring out ways that we can get out of that administrative trap so we can become more strategic
Yep.
is should be the number one objective for every single CHRO, VP of HR
Yeah.
out there.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I knew we wouldn't go through this whole topic without talking AI. So you brought it up after the first question. So I'm glad, and I'm sure people somewhat are maybe concerned about their job and how that's going to look with AI. And so I think you can either lean into it and really be proactive, or be reactive if something happens that you're not prepared for. So you
Yes.
talk a lot about connecting people strategy to growth. How can HR leaders start having those conversations with executives now to really get a seat at the strategic table if they don't have one?
Yeah. So right now, as we're a lot of companies are doing the January 1st with new business goals, and those CEOs are talking to those shareholders and board members and starting to make promises, right? Of we're going to grow X. We are going to um, go into a new market. We are going to build another plant. Whatever those different objectives that they are bringing on, and from an HR seat, what we need to do is we need to take those objectives and go figure out how can we put in HR strategies to help my CEO reach these goals.
Yep.
It's not, okay, here's our laundry list of things we've always been saying we want to do in HR. We actually need to connect it. So I think, like, for an example, maybe you have a new product getting launched this year. And in order to launch this new product, we need to have all of our engineers staffed and trained, right? And we know sales has already put together their revenue projections, right? Like they've worked with engineering and said, okay, if we can get this product, here's what the market's saying, here's where we can price it. Here are people that are already asking for it, waiting for it to be released. Like all of that number work has been done. Otherwise, we wouldn't be building a new product.
Yeah.
And so for HR, if one of your areas is like, hey, we keep having these engineering openings, have we can't get relocation approved, but we have all these engineering positions opening. And it's like, go talk to that VP of sales and VP of engineering and say, hey, every day that this product isn't launched on time, how much does it cost us in sales?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. So if I want to go spend 20%, 25%, 30% on an external recruiter, and it's going to cost me $60,000, and I want to add a relocation package that's going to cost 40,000. I need $100,000, but maybe it's only, but and that sounds like a lot of money, right? If I just go to the CEO and say, "Hey, I need $100,000 to get these engineering roles filled," but if it's going to cost us that per day, if we miss the launch, they're going to go, "Okay, you can have it,"
Yeah.
right? So it's going and working with those business leaders to understand, what are you trying to do? And if I don't hold up my part in HR, what's it going to cost us? That's how we get things sold at that C level.
Yeah. For those of you watching live, we have some great comments in the comments section. So thank you very much. We have Daniel in Nigeria. Welcome. Great to have you on. Blanca is in Ohio. Welcome, Blanca. Thanks for joining. So if you have comments, questions as we go through this with Casey, let us know. But for those of you who have not watched Speakeasy HR before, this is rolling. I hope that we get through it without any network issues, as a lot of people are having problems today. But welcome to Speakeasy HR. Loved having Casey on today and diving into her topic, really aligning business goals with HR strategies for next year. So, Casey, in your experience, what are the biggest signs that HR and business strategy are out of sync, and how can leaders quickly, correct that?
Yeah. So I think what you're really wanting to do is look at each one of your objectives. Are they directly connected to a business objective or not. So I use this example like in banks. Um, a lot of times in HR, we want to put together volunteer programs. But why do we want to put in a volunteer program? To allow our employees a day off for 8 hours to go work in the community. Um, but if I take that to a CEO and I say, hey, I want to let everybody off one extra day and we're going to pay them, they're going to be like, yeah, that is great. That is, good for the greater good. But like at the end of the day, like most people wouldn't say this, but they want something out of it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But if I go to that, let's say I work at a bank and we're a local bank and we're trying to compete with the big names, what makes us unique is that community involvement, right?
Yep.
And so if we're trying to increase our deposits and get more people to deposit money to our bank locally, how I could go pitch that to the CEO and say, hey, we need to be out in the community in our shirts showing that we are the ones showing up for our community. We're
Right.
the ones sponsoring the little league baseball team, and their t-shirts say, Bank Troy, whatever. And so those are the things where if I just ask for a volunteer program because it feels good and we know there's benefits to it for every company. I mean, you
Right.
get brand awareness, there's all these things. But if I can't directly tie it to an initiative like the banking initiative of I want to increase deposits, then it's going to be really hard to uh, get that sold at the C level. So when you look through your objectives and you're looking for like those misalignments, I want you to ask on each one of those objectives, which one of the CEO's goals does this directly tie to that I can speak to? And that is what I am constantly speaking to when I get in front of my peers and also that CEO.
Yeah. So data-driven HR is a big theme right now.
Mhm.
And so what kind of data should HR leaders be tracking to drive smarter decisions in the workforce? And what's often overrated?
Yeah. So one of the biggest overrated is time to fill. And time to fill is easy to track, right? We opened the rec on January 1st. We closed it on January 20th, 20
Yep.
days. Maybe you take out the weekends. Super easy, right? We can do that math. It's easy. But if I'm a CEO, like those numbers don't always punch you in the gut and make you go, oh. So if I say, hey, it takes us 90 days to fill a job, or if I say it takes you 115 days to fill a job, what's the difference? What
Right.
is that truly costing the company? Like, can I wrap my it's kind of like percentages too, like even like turnover percentages. When I say our turnover rate's 20%, average industries 18%, we're doing pretty good. It's like, oh, okay, I'm gonna accept that. And I'm not gonna get too worked up about it. But what is that really costing us?
Yeah.
So for an example, like how do we talk about that differently? How do we talk about time to fill? Because if I just go and say it's 90 days and I want to get it down to 60 days and it's going to have all these benefits, but I'm generic about it, it's like, okay, but I could buy this piece of equipment who's going to and it's going to output this many more widgets and it's going to make me this much money.
Yeah.
I'm going to choose that, sorry HR, right? And so um think about how can we do this? How could we measure it different? So let's think about like a sales role. You know, if you go talk to your VP of sales, they are going to be able to pull every single sales member's budget and their sales goals, and
Yeah.
go look at your last 10 hires. How long did it take them um, to hit their quota? And that's our onboarding time, right? We take an average of that and then we can say, look, it takes us 90 days to get them to be able to meet their quota. It takes us 6 months to get them to meet our quota. And it takes us typically 90 days to fill it. So every single time we have a rep open, it's 9 months of missing. What is their quota? How much do they need to hit in sales? 50,000 a month. Okay. 9 months times 50,000. That is how much we're losing by not having the sales rep filled
Yeah.
in trade.
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm going to go ask for my recruiting money, or I need more sourcing money to be able to put more ads on Google ads and things like that. Um, so think about, like, I'll never forget, I was when I was still in corporate, where the executive team was around a table, and my production VP of production was like, every single day we do not have these 18 production jobs filled. It is costing the company directly to the bottom line through to productivity $18,000 a day. And I was like that hit me in the gut. I was like, $18,000 a day.
Yeah.
Like, what? Like, that's, if I say, we have 18 openings,
Mm.
okay, you know,
Yeah.
it doesn't, like, I mean, it does hurt, but it's still not. But if I say $18,000 a day, it's like, oh. And that
Yeah.
CEO, after John said that, he goes, Casey, what do you need? What do you need to fill these roles?
Right.
Change the conversation.
Yep. Absolutely. Definitely will change the conversation really quick.
Yeah.
Um, have a question from a viewer in the crowd from LinkedIn. Curious how you think about the non GTM roles where the value might be a little squishier.
So you're thinking about, like, where it's not as easy to tie it. So um if you could, in the comment, like, give me a like an example, because I think there's probably a way that we can come up with a number
Yeah.
somehow. You think about customer service reps. You
Yep.
know, how many calls are they taking? How what's the wait time? How many people are hanging up because they're tired of waiting, and how does that impact sales? So
Yep.
sometimes we just have to unpeel that onion deeper to figure out, where do I find the cost, because we wouldn't have that job
Right.
if it wasn't having a bottom line impact.
Absolutely. Yep. And every department probably has a way to come up with their own unique example, right? So
Mhm.
that okay, a copywriter, creative marketer, someone who staffs a podcast or other podcast content output.
Oh yeah, those are great examples.
Yeah.
So, and a copywriter, you know, that there is so much marketing tracking that your VP of marketing probably has, to say, let's say they write a blog. That copywriter writes a blog once a week. David and I were actually talking about this earlier today. They're tracking how many people read that blog, how many people clicked on the link to learn more and went to our website. When I think about the same thing, like on the creative side, if we put up a social media ad that they created in the messaging, how many people clicked on that link? I mean, your marketing team probably has some intense um, metrics behind that you can go and say, okay, when we don't have this copywriter filled, how many less views are we having?
Yep.
When we don't have a podcast schedule and we miss somebody, how many people typically watch that podcast?
Right.
And how many potential sales are we getting off of it? And your marketing and sales department are so data driven. They're not spending
Or
money on a podcast or blogs or ads unless they know what the return is.
yep.
So it's really about not feeling like you're alone and that you have to figure out how to come up with these numbers on your own. Your business leaders have these numbers,
Yeah.
and they're being held accountable to these numbers. So go talk to them and say, okay, I'm trying to figure out how I can get this copywriter more ad spend so I can hire them, or I want to put a recruiter on it. What is it like truly costing the business because we don't have this in?
Yeah.
And again, back to the AI, go type in ChatGPT or whatever your favorite is, like, what are common costs that I should be looking at when we don't have a copywriter? I'm trying to get this justified in my business to to do more ad spend, to hire a recruiter for it. Help me write the ROI on it, and have ChatGPT give you questions to go ask the VP.
Yep.
And if they don't have some of those metrics, then we need to talk about, why don't you, well, what are you measuring? And should we be measuring these things,
Yeah.
so that we can get more things approved for your department?
Yep. Mark had a good comment. It's all true. Data visualization and the background story, the combination of storytelling and dashboards, is in full support of what Casey just showed about. Yep.
Yep.
Absolutely. Thanks, Mark. Very good. So that is important. You got to find a way to use it to your advantage in your role with your organization. So, Casey, many HR teams want to be more strategic, right? But feel stuck in the day to day, the mundane stuff. So, what practical steps um, can they take to shift their role from administrative to more strategic that we might not have thought about yet as we've been talking?
Yeah. So this is like hot on my mind right now because this is one of the first modules that people go through when they join 10x Talent is learning how to get out of this administrative trap. Um, and I can remember, and this goes like way back because I can remember my when I was still living at home, and one of my mom's objectives and how she would write it, like it was her mission for her team that year was to reduce administrative burden, is what she
Yeah.
called it, to add more strategic value to the business. And so, of course, we've got AI, but something to think about. And I have a big background in the Toyota production system, working in manufacturing. And I use a lot of those principles when it comes to figuring out what needs, how to approach this. So, one, um, one thing to think about is every time you answer a question, you get an email that says, "Hey, what is our vacation policy?" Or "I have a benefits issue." Or somebody stops by your office and says, "Hey, can you send me the performance review template?" Or "Hey, where are we at filling that job?" Those are all areas of opportunity for us to, because somebody couldn't get that information at their fingertips and had to come ask me for it. Either they're not trained where to find it. Maybe we have our handbook out there. Maybe they're not trained to find it.
Yeah.
Maybe we've created a safety net for them where it's just easier to ask me versus directing them where to go find the information, because we want to be people focused and we want to, we're support. We don't want to just tell people to go figure it out. What's my value then if I'm not here supporting those things? And so letting some of that go, first of all, but every single time, that's all waste. Every time you have to, almost all email is all waste. And if you are stuck all day long answering emails and giving people updates and answers, it's all waste. So start to keep a list of every single time, somebody couldn't find the handbook policy. Somebody asked about bereavement. We had this benefit issue. And then you start looking for themes. What's impacting me the most? What's taking up the biggest chunk? And you just tackle one at a time
Yep.
and you celebrate those. We saved X amount of minutes by putting our handbook out on SharePoint.
Yep.
We save so much by turning on view only. Maybe I'm not comfortable yet to allow my managers to do everything in our applicant tracking system. So maybe I say it's going to be view only so they can at least see where we're at in the process, and they can go look up anytime and see how many resumes they have versus sending me an email saying, "Hey, where are we at?" And I got to go log into our system, see how many resumes, email them back.
Yep.
That takes time.
Yep.
So start keeping those lists of what you are doing, and just start knocking them off.
Yep. And that's what we can do. Obviously, with Payroll Partners, the platform we have to customize from ATS, onboarding, employee experience, payroll, benefits, it's all in one. So if you're thinking, as Casey's talking about how you're currently doing your technology within your organization, and it's multiple systems, multiple sign-ins, just constant struggles, that's where I can help. That's where we can help. So would love to connect with anybody that's very frustrated in their current situation for HR tech and payroll tech. So, Blanca had a really good question, and I wanted to bring it up. So, what's your experience in companies with bilingual culture? What are the for Spanish and English? What are the challenges that they are facing, given your experience in companies with a bilingual culture? Um, I think it cut it off, but what are the challenges they are currently facing?
Yeah. So what I go back to, I can remember, this was probably 15 years ago. We had just bought a company in France. And I remember how challenging it was at that point, just where we were from a technology standpoint. you know, of how where we could go to find things to get translated,
Yeah.
finding somebody. That was really, really challenging back in
Yeah.
the day.
Yeah.
I know where I'm at, in the Midwest, we have a huge Haitian population as well. And this is AI. I'm going to say it again. This is HR's dream right now because we actually have a starting point where we can throw something in and say, translate it, translate the handbook, translate this communication.
Yep.
um, I could throw two different conversations in, like, hey, analyze this email chain, and I feel like it might just be um, a translation issue going on that they just don't understand each other. So I can use AI to help me analyze like conversations back and forth. Um, but I think that is uh, where HR can really step in and have more tools for them to be able to translate things faster. And we can't trust it perfectly, right? There's always
Yeah.
those nuances, but at least I have a starting point and I can go to somebody that is bilingual
Yep.
and pretty strong within my organization and say, "Hey, is this does this make sense?" Um, I've also like one of the things we struggled with as well is like meetings. When you bring in a English only speaking um, speaker, for an
Yeah.
example, and you pull everybody in, or you're doing open enrollment and you have an English speaker, you know, there are AI technologies out there now where you could have a screen up and it's translating while you are speaking. And so is it the greatest experience that they are reading it while you're speaking? No,
Right.
but it's a step better than them not being able to understand it at all.
Right.
Um, so there's a lot of different there's a lot of different angles we could go on this question.
Yeah. Definitely. Um, so shifting to engagement, because that really is what a lot of HR professionals in their organization has as part of their responsibility. In mine, it's the employee experience and the engagement of employees. So, what are some innovative ways that you've seen companies build stronger engagement while staying aligned with business outcomes?
Yeah. So I guess where I'll go first with this question is engagement metrics are not great
Yeah.
because they don't tie to business value. So
Right.
if I'm trying to sell a new technology, and I David, you saw the same speaker as I did a couple months ago on this, and it was just fantastic. And he was talking about how when and it's a technology company, and they were constantly getting HR completely bought in to buying the technology. They'd get it in front of the CFO, and it was like this quick no. And so they did this huge study to show like why is this happening? What is that breakdown?
Right.
And it was showing like HR's what they valued most was engagement, people actually adopting the technology and using it.
Right.
But even if people adopt it, what are we getting out of it as a business? And that's why the CFO, they weren't approving things based off of engagement. So I
Right.
think engagement's super important, and there's studies out there that shows, you'll get this much more productivity if you have this much, if you can increase your engagement. And we can do that ROI math around those types of things, but it's not super concrete.
Yeah.
So the more you can again peel back that layer of like, okay, if I can get better engagement, which then improves my net promoter score and my customer satisfaction score, how many more sales can I get?
Yeah.
So that's, I guess, my 2 cents on engagement in general, but some ideas of how to increase the engagement. And this is where I believe in game based learning.
Yep.
I had a client who they were struggling with turnover of new hires, and this is a manufacturing facility, really hot work. They're actually like ironing linens for restaurants and cleaning them.
Okay.
No air conditioning, unfortunately. And these presses are super hot to steam these. And they had turned over 90 people in the last 12 months, new hires. 90
Hmm.
people. Like, you think about all that HR work, right? And so what we built for them was a football game. It was an onboarding football game
Yeah.
where the supervisors were the coaches, and they had to bring on their rookie players into their legacy team. And we went through 4 quarters. They had flags penalty flags they could throw. Real fun, engaging way for them to strategically figure out how to build out their football team.
Hmm.
But then for the engagement and the accountability afterwards, we left them with a football game where their new hires are their actual football players. And they score touchdowns and field goals and safeties based off of different actions that they take and for retention. So if
Hmm.
the company wanted them to like show up to pick them up from HR after orientation on time, they might get a field goal for that. Just being on time and not making that new hire sit there and wait for 20 minutes while you come and pick them up. Maybe it's like having weekly check-ins, they score so many points, or so much for retention. They get a touchdown for every 90 days or 6 months that they retain somebody. So they can all see on the coach's score card where they're all falling with their peers, and so it gets that competition between those supervisors to try
Oh
to
yeah.
retain. And there are, the biggest thing when we were creating that is we didn't want bad behavior. We didn't want people retaining because it was going to impact uh, their retention if they needed to get rid of somebody. So there are things built in as well for that healthy turnover when we do mishire.
Right.
So think about ways that you can take and turn it into a game.
Yeah. Very good. Angela has a good question. Do you think adding a HRIS roles in HR will help grow the adoption and deal with gaps of learning and using AI in HR departments?
My answer is maybe. And here's what I say to this. So it's going to depend when it comes to adoption. I think it depends on the skill set of that HRAS person. Are
Yeah.
they 100% passionate about building out HR technology and the workflows? And this is going to trigger this email, and they want to be behind the screen designing these beautiful, beautiful workflows for us. Or does that HRIS person, probably 50% of their job is change management? Do they have that skill set? Can they do both sides of it? And because when it comes to change management, it's the training. How am I going to get it to stick? And it's not, and how do I do it in a fun way again?
Yep.
Because we've all been in that IT training that is really painful, that we're all sitting there watching them click on screens and we're all at different paces, or we get this online training module and I'm going to click on it over here while I'm answering my emails on my other screen. So I think it really depends on that skill set of the HRS and where are they truly passionate. If you hire a 100% IT person who
Yep.
doesn't really want to deal with people, they want to deal with technology because that's their passion. That's why they do what they do.
Yeah.
You're not going to get as good of adoption than if you have somebody that you can hire that has that change management skill set, that can get out from designing the processes and be out in the business and really understanding why people are struggling with adoption and engagement in helping through that change management process.
I think that's one of the most important things for every organization to figure out is how can they train their team that sticks, that helps them develop the middle management, the individuals dealing with the workforce on a day-to-day basis. The leadership team, the VPs and the presidents, they're dealing with people, they're making business decisions, but the ones managing the staff, the ones that decide I'm leaving this company because of my boss, those individuals are playing such an important role in every organization. So if you can figure out a way to create training that will stick with them, you are going to be successful. So what role, Casey, does trust and transparency play in aligning HR with business success, especially during the times of transition and uncertainty?
Yeah. So trust is what HR's built on.
Yep.
Um, there is, um, and it's challenging, right? Because we have to keep, there is a lot that we have to keep private.
Yep.
There's some things that we can't share. There's investigations, there's discipline. Maybe we are handling a situation, but it's we're not going to air that out to the organization. So we have to find that right balance.
Yep.
Um, but I think it's about being aware of that. I'm coaching an HR manager right now, and their company is really big on change management as they are rolling out, but their own department isn't good at change management.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times in HR, we can go out and we can make sure we're taking care of everybody else, and we forget to take care of ourselves.
Yep.
So it's remembering that we need to have change management processes within even the HR department.
Yep.
If I'm at the top and I've had months to digest what's getting ready to happen, I got to remember how long it took me to get to that okay, this is going to be okay state, and not just dump it on my HR team and say, okay, we're going on Monday. Let's make this happen. Right. And so, really understanding that change management process, if we're doing something and we're taking something away, like literally going through that grief process of sense of loss. Um, and as much as, no surprises as possible, there are times when we have to do those things, but um, we just always have to be trying to communicate, and when can I share what, and then thinking about it can't be a one-time communication and they're at the same place that I am,
Yeah.
because it's taken me, I've been thinking about this lot longer than they have.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so true. And it's so difficult to, I, going back to the training and development of the staff, they've got to trust and buy into what you're trying to help them learn and develop their skill set, because as the board says behind me, champions adjust, y'all. Like that is, you have to find the right champions, you have to have them in the right seats. People get promoted to a managerial role and they should not be. And then it's just, how do you develop a first time manager? How do you develop that person? Do they even want to be a manager?
Mhm.
Like, do they just want the pay increase so that they can buy other things that they can't afford now, with the higher paycheck? And sometimes they want that, but they don't want to manage people. They don't want to make those decisions. They have friends that they're not managing, right? So it's so difficult, and change is constant. So you've got to just find the right, right approach to technology, to human connection, to training and development, and finding the right talent as you recruit, fill jobs. So HR plays such an important role in all of that. So, um, as we wrap up here, Casey, and if anybody else has any other final questions, we can try to get to them. But if you could give HR leaders one piece of advice to prepare for 2026 and beyond, what would that be?
Yeah, so one is AI, 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 AI again and again. I was talking to uh, somebody I used to work with years ago, and I was like, and she was talking about they're rolling out Copilot Microsoft right now at her organization. And I was like, do you remember when we were at the medical device company together? And when Microsoft first released the ribbon, like a lot of the younger viewers aren't even going to know what I'm talking about, but it was no longer just the file edit at the top. Like we actually had ribbons. We went through massive change management process because we were changing how
Yeah.
Microsoft looked. And now we are introducing AI to the workforce, something completely new. So there should absolutely be on every single HR professional um, control plan or strategic plan for next year, something around AI. And you need two things that every single business needs right now is an AI policy so your employees know what they are allowed to do and not to do, and AI training, just the basics. Like, remember, David, like we used to train people on how to use computers.
Yep.
Like, this is a mouse, this is a hard drive, this is like we would trained like the terminology, and
Yeah.
we have to go back to that with AI. Like, this is what prompting is. This is how it's working, and why when we put information out, it could go into this. Like, so next year there should be there no excuses. Every single company has to put out an AI policy, and they have to train their employees to first safeguard their company so that something doesn't accidentally get out there. And we are already seeing that. We are seeing things that are accidentally getting out because people don't know how this really works. We don't have to get deep in the training. We are doing computer 101 training again. AI 101 training has to be done next year.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fascinating because you and I have kids similar ages, and I just think about when they're going to be entering the workforce and what it's going to look like, right? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if my kids will go into HR like me. I mean, I didn't grow up thinking I'd be in HR. I wanted to be a professional golfer. And so it's like when they're out looking for jobs and how they're going to find jobs and how that experience is going to be for them entering the workforce at 2030, 2035, so many jobs haven't even been created yet.
Yeah.
And it's an exciting time. It's an uneasy feeling if you are maybe in a job that you don't really know what the future looks like for yourself in that company. So when I talk to individuals that I'm considering to bring on to our team through the interview process, I ask them about what are they looking for, what kind of opportunities are they looking for. It's like staff development, training development. Like it's it's interesting, and I try to help navigate them potentially into an organization or into an industry where they can be successful. But I think AI isn't going to just take away every job in every industry. There's going to be some replaced. We've seen that.
Mhm.
But, there's still going to be organizations that just are not adapting and adopting it as fast.
Yeah.
So just because
Yeah.
AI is out there, every organization is not just going to flip the switch, right? So,
One of the modules that we teach in the 10x talent community is around the future of how people are applying for jobs and looking for jobs. So now we not only have to figure out how to rank on Google when people are searching for jobs,
yep.
but my daughter the other day, she took a picture of a pair of socks that she absolutely loves, put it into ChatGPT and said, "Where do I buy these socks at? What brand of socks are these and where do I buy them at?" And so that is how people are going to be looking for jobs. What are
Yep.
engineering jobs near me, and doing market research on that company. What are employees saying? They don't have to go to Glassdoor and all of the different websites to do the market research anymore. So when we start what we teach in 10x Talent community is, how do we start building our career pages and our job postings so
Yep.
AI is recognizing it and
Yep.
pulling it when somebody's out there searching for our jobs?
Absolutely. And as you bring up 10x Talent, I want you to obviously share a little bit more about that. And I have it up on the screen for those of you watching still. Appreciate you hanging around for the hour. But yeah, tell us about 10x because that is new, right, Casey?
Yeah, yeah, we just officially launched it last week. I know, if you follow me on LinkedIn, I've been talking about it a lot recently. But it's a community for what I always say is that top 10% elite HR leader, or those aspiring to become that elite HR leader. We're not there to complain about our managers. We're not there to complain about our companies and how we can't get our CEOs to do things. We are there to work as a elite group of HR professionals who are going to be business leaders, who run the HR function and learn how to talk to the CEOs, how to look at data differently, think about, how do we run this business through people? How do I develop my CEO? We're going to talk a lot about development plans for our CEOs, because a lot of them, especially in family owned companies or founders or entrepreneurs, they've never ran a company before. They don't know what to expect out of HR. We have to develop them. And so we'll have a bunch of modules that you can come and do at your own pace. And then I will pick a different topic each month, and we'll actually have live sessions where I walk through it. We'll have Q&A sessions where you can submit your questions and I'll answer those lives, or someone on the 10X Talent team will answer. So lots of opportunities to be networking with other people that want to be strategic HR and think differently. And then having the 10x talent coaches out there helping you. You know, you can post your business objectives and ask for feedback. Hey, these are the HR goals I'm looking at. How do I? Um, what are some ideas? And we'll be there to support everybody.
Absolutely. That is so exciting. I cannot wait to see where you take this. So, Casey, this has been fantastic. I'm so glad we got through the episode without any major hiccups with the connection, because it's been a wacky day in the world of technology, with a lot not working correctly. If you've tried to go on and shop or go to bigger platforms that you use on a daily basis. And so I'm very fortunate. It wasn't working about 10, 20 minutes or so before we jumped on. And so
Yeah.
fortunately we got through it. Everything wasn't working correctly, but that's okay. That's what Speakeasy is about. We come in and it's uncut, it's authentic, and this is what you see. And this is what'll be posted in Spotify and everywhere else to listen on demand. So if people want to tune in later and watch the episode again, it'll be out there, or it'll be on LinkedIn and YouTube. So any other comments before we jump off, Casey, for the day?
No, I just thank everyone for joining us, and the fact that you sat and listened to us definitely shows me that you are willing and want to be a part of this movement. So I invite you to go check out 10x Talent, and we will see you next time.
Yeah. Thank you very much, everybody. Thanks for tuning in, spending time with us. Got a next episode coming up next week, episode 50, for those of you, keeping track. Awesome episode. Casey, thanks again for being on, and best of luck. We'll see each other soon, and I'll be curious to see what your t-shirt says. So that'll be your
Cool.
challenge.
All right.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Take care.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.